the 23rd to order. As you can see, this meeting is being held in person. It can also be viewed on local cable channel 1303 or on the internet by accessing the town website at bucksportmaine.gov and clicking on Watch Meetings and selecting Town Council. Questions or comments may be submitted during the meeting by emailing slassard@bucksportmaine.gov or during the meeting by calling 307-8030. Couple other items. This will be a great time to remember to turn off cell phones. With our new audio system, it does pick up the audience pretty well, so we've tapered that down. If you are going to speak this evening, you must come to the podium. I will not intend to be rude, but if you begin speaking from your seat, I will interrupt you and ask you to come to the podium. So I don't mean to be rude, it's for our audience at home. I think I've covered everything. Roll call. George.
Deputy Mayor Mark Eastman.
Here.
Councilor Tracy Hare.
Here.
Mayor Paul Bissonnette.
Here.
Councilor Paul Rabs.
Here.
Councilor Steve Bishop.
Here.
Councilor Ed Rankin.
Here.
George, Councilor Therian is excused.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Next is we have a presentation of any town council recognitions, which we do have this evening. We have the swearing in of Dispatch Supervisor Jesse Jenkins, Dispatcher Richard Sullivan, and Officer Chris Sargent.
Join me up here. I do have the words right here as well, if I go a little fast. All right.
Face this way.
Yep. Please raise your right hand with me. I state your name.
Officer Chris Sargent Jenkins.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and will obey the laws of the United States
and will obey the laws of the United States
and of the state of Maine,
and of the state of Maine,
that I will,
that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
observe the provisions of the Charter
observe the provisions of the Charter
and ordinances of the town of Bucksport,
and ordinance of the town of Bucksport,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of, state your office,
of the Office of Patrol Officer
for the town of
Supervisor.
Bucksport. For the town of Bucksport.
For the town of Bucksport.
Perfect.
Thank you, gentlemen. Welcome aboard.
Just get you guys to sign these.
Oh, yes.
Please and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone. I'm so happy to report that we have a full complement of employees, supervisors, officers, paramedics, firefighters in our public safety department for the first time in a very, very, very long time. In gaining this full department, we have been blessed in our most recent hires to, in public safety, have 2 of 3 of our officers be blueprints, one of which is Officer Sergeant, who's here this evening, and to have attracted very high-quality paramedic firefighters on the fire EMS side as well. So that alone deserves a round of applause for management of that department.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We're not gonna force anybody to stay for the remainder of the meeting. I know some of you here.
But it is a good time.
But sure, yeah.
See you later, Jeff. See y'all.
Good night, all. The next item on the agenda is to consider the minutes of previous meetings, and we have the minutes from our meeting on January the 9th. I will assume everyone's had a chance to review those. Questions? How the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you. Receive and review correspondence. We have 2 items of correspondence. Both are Verona police calls, one from January the 4th of 2025 and one from January the 16th of 2025. Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
We've been going this route for over a decade where we send correspondence off. I mean, technology has changed. Is it possible to eliminate the correspondence and just simply send an email off to Waldo County or Hancock County? Your thoughts on that, Sean? It just seems that with the technology that's out there, why we send correspondence to these towns when we could just send it electronically off to the,
I can look into
Counties.
that. It's in the policy that we have to send these things that way, but I can.
just, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Ordinances to consider or introduce, we do have one this evening, and it's to update the fee schedule for the 2025 marina dockage rates as well as the town dock rates. And those as well were included with your packet.
We have our harbor master, marina manager, Mike Ormsby here this evening.
Any questions?
I honestly didn't have any. I read through it twice, but I don't know about the rest of the council.
Yes.
No, go ahead.
Basically, we raised it approximately 15%. And surrounding figures, so better things people can remember. But we haven't raised it for 3 years, so and we have all new floats now. So it's really nice. The people love it. I mean, they've gone from slip sizes that were 4 feet wide and very tippy to 6 foot wide and very stable. And so it's really nice down there now,
Do you
so.
expect anyone to complain about it, any of your regular customers or
To complain about the new floats?
the raising of?
Oh, the rates, I've told them all last year
Yeah,
that they better expect at least a 10%, but possibly more. And when I went over it, I looked everything from 10% to 20%. 20% just put the numbers a little bit so that it's quite noticeable difference. Yeah, but we're still more than half under what Belfast, Rockland, I mean, you go down there and that same slip you pay, $2,000 for here, you're gonna pay almost $5 down there for it. So it's a
we
big
had some
difference.
room to go up.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And not going up in 3 years, it's
No, we've
It's gotta
held
be-
it for that long.
gotta be expected.
Well, that's some of the questions that I had tonight. I don't think you've raised it enough, to be quite honest.
Probably haven't.
I'm not trying to be greedy.
Nope.
But there's a lot of information in today's Enterprise that came out and went on to say that, just like you just mentioned, that rates are reasonable, only half or less compared to the other two towns that you mentioned and so forth, and you're looking at 10 to 15%. And to me, it comes down to the dollar issue. You were quoted in here, you noted in here that 2023, there was a loss of about $5,700. Last year, we were a small profit of about $2,000. Year before, in 2022, how much money did we lose?
I don't think we lost any.
Okay.
Okay, because
But-
actually,
but
I
here's-
didn't use all the labor budget.
Yeah, but here's where I'm coming at with, we're way low compared to the others.
Right.
If a private sector were over here running things, they'd be out to recoup some of that money. I think that you could actually go another 5 or 10% and still be manageable compared to the other towns that are around.
Here's my reasoning for what it did. We were gonna raise the rates last year, but there were so many complaints about the old floats that I didn't feel comfortable raising the rates when we had the old floats.
I get
So-
what you're saying, but you know.
And I
3
plan on
years-
doing this again next year, a smaller amount. We'll eventually catch up.
Okay, and now if I,
Absolutely.
2 more thoughts.
Mhm.
On the cruise ships that are coming in,
Yep.
it used to be we'd get a few, then when the foul weather, they'd come in for safe harbor and so forth, and we charge by the foot.
Mhm.
Where are we? We're still at $9 a foot $3 a foot.
Mhm.
It seems like we've been there for a long, long time, no?
No, it was $2 a foot.
Where are we in regard to Bangor and some of the other towns, do we know?
We're right in the middle, basically. There are several places that are charging by the passenger. I don't wanna do that. It's
Right.
too complicated.
Yeah.
Other places are charging, high is a $5 a foot and the low is $2.50. So we're,
Okay.
you know, we're not bad right there.
All right, well, I'll still go on the wagon of, maybe we could raise that a little bit. And then finally, trash removal. I was actually with both of you one day down on the dock when the ship was in, and it seemed to me that they were saving their trash till they came to Bucksport
No, they-
because we were so inexpensive to get rid of it.
No, there again, we're about the same.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
but let me keep going.
Yep.
With the number of ships now at 30, I'd like to see some numbers. I think we're making an extra run to the landfill now with our tractor trailer at 3 miles per gallon of diesel. We're taking 2 guys out of town to be on that trailer. We're paying the tipping fees down at the landfill. I'd just like to take a look at some numbers and see if it would be legitimate to goose up that cost per bag just to cover. I don't want to see the expenses going against the town. At least let's break even. End of thought.
I understand your thought.
Yeah.
I just, there is a town that charges $5 a bag. But we're charging what Rockland charges. Now, the reason they have so many bags sometimes when they come in here is because they may not have had a port with a dock. And they can't do the bags of trash with their tender boat. So they don't do that. So they wait till they get into a port with a dock. We're one of the few ports that can take their boats. So that's why we end up with a lot of bags sometimes. And but they can have quite a few bags even just
Summary,
coming from
I
Bangor.
just think we could move things up a little, either percentage-wise or dollar-wise, something.
Note
Just
taken.
my 2 cents.
Yep, nope, taken, yep.
Leave it to Andrew or something.
How do you, it seems that Belfast is going to stop receiving cruise ships of over 50 passengers if what we're reading is accurate. How do you think that, will that have an impact on cruise ships coming here if they're not going there?
We had a meeting, so Mike and I attended a conference in Bangor last week and met with ACL. And there was miscommunication that they thought our dock was under construction this year. So we have 1 visit. So we're not getting the 30, we're at 1. And then prior to our meeting, I read the breaking news out of Belfast about the 50. So they're working on redoing the schedule. So we'll see more, not just for inclement weather, but what's going on in Belfast, what's going on in Bar Harbor. So they're well aware of our plans. They want to work out some contracts with us as well. As it relates to trash, previously, Bangor was not a starting site. Bangor wasn't even a site before. So when their first trip is Bangor, their next stop is Bucksport. So there's not much trash. So some days we're lucky to get, I don't know, would you say 17 to 20?
Yeah, 20 bags, yeah.
At the most. And then when they start from Portland and come up, that's when we see an inundation in
The
trash.
day I was on the pier with you guys, I think
It
you were
came up
making 4 loads of the truck up to the transfer station.
Yeah, and that was the ship that came up from Portland. In regards to the revenue, what we've been doing is we've taken an approach at where can we make the marina profitable. And what the article should have said was based off FY25, if you take the cost of an employee, including their benefits, versus what we get with slips at a 90% occupancy rate, FY25, we were starting in the hole $5,733. So Mike and I had discussed raising it, and he was able to get it to a point where, based off of the anticipated increases in employee benefits this year, and with the increase of 15%, that it would be a $2,930 profit. So we're starting the year in a profit with 90% capacity just in those 2 categories. So it's not the whole, I mean, there's so much overhead down there, right?
I
So,
feel like there's wisdom to staggering huge increases as well over several years, like we learned that.
we've learned that,
right?
correct, yes. So that's where we're going with those. So I disclose those numbers because it's important to understand that there's been a large investment in replacing all of the floats.
Oh, yeah.
Are we still where we want to be float-wise? Yes. But the internet service that we promise and that we've continued and IT is down here at all times trying to, help resolve it, but you're on water and it sits down. So, they're not getting the best service down here, not on anything that we've tried. I mean, our IT guys have been fantastic. We call, they come, they try to resolve the issue. Each person has their own password, so that way IT knows this is the source, this is the login, this is the password. We know what they're getting for ampage. It's either got something to do with being blocked by larger vessels or being at a lower tide. Stuff that they understand, but they're down there.
I empathize because my service at home, I'm supposed to have 400 and I get 37, so yeah, I can understand.
And we figure on 90%, rented. We were 100% last year, so. And then our fuel went up by several thousand gallons. We sold more last year than we have ever. Diesel's going up. We've also, we had a catalog store with Kellogg's, but we were having trouble meeting their $10,000 a year expenditure to stay with them. So I went down to Hamilton Marine, and I've talked to Hamilton Marine, and they're running the same deal with us. So we get a fairly heavy discount on all their products right out of the catalog, and they will have it delivered to us the next day by truck. So we're doing the same thing with Hamilton's as we did with Kellogg's. So if Kellogg's kicks us out, well, we got Hamilton's, so,
Gotcha.
yeah. So we're doing pretty good, so,
Well done.
yep.
Can we touch on the fact that they thought our dock was under construction and it's not, and did I hear that correctly? You're actively working on that to fix that misinformation?
Yes. I don't know who they spoke with to get the information, but they obviously didn't speak with me because I know where we are in the grant process. We're still dealing with HUD and NOAA. And the timeline, so that you're aware, is we should be able to put this project out to bid in March with a 60-day window to get the bids back. In April, we anticipate having the federal clearance that we need. In the meantime, GEI has resubmitted the DEP permit because that will expire before the project is complete. So everything is at a point where we need to be. Come May, we should be able to award the bid, and then work will start off-site. And then November 8th is, I believe, the window when you're able to do work in the water between November 8th and April the 6th. And that's when the work will happen at the site. So it should all be completed prior to that April 6th deadline, as long as
April 6, 2026.
April 6, 2026, that's correct, because we won't have the window now because we won't have the bids back. So by April of 2026, which means we should not lose any time with any service of anything at all. So we're working on our communication. Like I said, we went up to that conference and we had very good dialogue, and he reiterated during that last call that he's working on fixing the schedule. The Belfast news just broke, so it's.
And that's not a done deal yet, they still have to vote on it, so. But the one trip was us. The reason that happened is because they had new people doing the schedule and they wanted to try something different, where they're going from Portland, ending in Bangor, and then they're going from Bangor, ending in Portland. Well, when the people that did the design of the schedule, that's why Bucksport didn't fit real well, because of it just wasn't a middle stop. But I've talked to them, they're gonna correct that with at least several more stops, if not more than that. So, and if this thing in Belfast happens, it could be quite a few more, so.
And we got our name in the booklet as well now.
Thank you.
Yes, I did that especially for you.
We were not listed as a stop and we were a stop, and someone may have raised that as an issue.
We had a lot of stops last year. There was quite a
We
bit.
did.
And we have the yacht clubs coming back again this year. They're already scheduling for August 16th and 17th, so they bring quite a few boats. People have a lot of fun, so, yeah.
So to be perfectly clear, based on what we talked about this evening in terms of expectations, and I'm just saying expectations, so I'm not asking, we should not be operating at a loss.
No.
On your boats versus your salaries,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
then, of course, you make profit on your
Yep.
gas and your diesel,
Mhm.
and basically, anything that comes up, we had build floats, you have to do it,
Right.
right? So,
Okay.
the last major thing that we need to take care of is a building.
Mhm.
There's a barn door on the south side of our building that when it rains inside the building.
Mhm.
The barn door is not needed. I've checked with IT. It'd be nice to replace it with another window for the cross ventilation for the software that's up, the hardware that's up there
In the
that
attic.
monitors the cameras for the entire waterfront. So that will need to be done. But realistically, now that we've taken care of losses in certain line items, and float maintenance was a huge loss for us over the years, we're taking out all that.
Okay,
So
all right.
as long as we have perfect weather like we did last
We
year.
will.
I'm sorry.
We will.
We will. I like that.
The beginning of the year wasn't perfect, but the end of the year was. It really was nice. Yeah, it was perfect weather.
Just to sum up your numbers here, Mike, in summary, your numbers reflect what you have found can be our most amount of income to offset our expenses with keeping us less expensive than the competition.
Right, well,
Correct.
Rich added, just did it with the labor. But if you add everything else in, we're making money down there, yeah. And with just the labor, we're gonna make money with that too, so, yeah. Cause I don't necessarily use all the labor in the budget, so. Depending on how things are going, you know.
And if there were other elements with our dock system that were more advantageous on other dock systems, you would be the one to hear about it from the voters directly.
Oh,
So-
they let me know,
So
yes.
yeah, you would know the most.
Yes, yeah. We do have an upgrade that we're gonna have to do down the road for the electrical. It's getting old, so, but that's pretty much the last thing, so, besides the improvements on the building. So, yep,
Yeah, 'cause we've been able to do mostly everything else internally, and get that done in our current budget and still maintain where we need to be.
And the waiting list is,
20 to 30.
okay,
Yeah, and I just took, in this week alone, I took 7 or 8 additions. Everybody seems to wanna go boating now.
yeah,
How long do people wait on your waiting list usually?
Generally 1 to 3 years. Depends on the size of the boat, cause we only have certain numbers of each size slip, so. But people, when they get in there, they don't wanna leave, so they keep coming back, so.
Till they sell their boat and they don't have.
Till they sell their boat, yeah.
Where did Jack go?
But I've had some sell their boat, not be there for a year or two, and then come back.
Had some bring their boat and not leave in the middle of winter.
Yeah, that was not wanted.
We need-
Any other questions I can help?
Thanks for putting that together.
Okay, yep, thank you.
no questions, how would the council like to proceed?
Approve, second.
Questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks.
Alright. Good conversation. Moving into discussion now, from conversation to discussion. The first item is committee assignments. Sent those out, they're in the published packet. I would like to make a change based on a conversation this evening that is relatively minor. For the Community and Economic Development Committee, I would like to switch Paul Rabs and Tracy Hare to be an alternate. And Paul would be the third person on that committee. Other than that, unless anybody identifies any errors, we should be all set with that published list. Great. Alright. The other thing on that I wanted to mention was it has come up from several of you and in writing from the deputy mayor around the questions were asked about council representation on the Conservation Commission as well as the Safety Committee. And right now, there is nothing stating that the council has to be on those. If the council would like to consider that, we could put it on the next agenda. I certainly have no opposition to it. I don't know what the pleasure of the council is, but it would be an additional person on each of those, the Conservation Commission as well as the Safety Committee.
I'm not opposed.
Do we have people that want to be on those specific?
I think I heard some interest about both from people on the council.
Well, they can be on it, but
Yep.
we don't have to address it as a council, do we?
You don't have to make it a mandatory appointment. Councilors can attend any meetings
Right.
that they choose.
So my piece on Bucksport Bay Healthy Communities is the same idea, right? It's not,
No, I think our
That-
MOU with them requires a member.
Yes, yeah.
We can also let it go. It had just been brought up, so I wanted to make sure the council had a chance to at least consider it.
My thoughts is leave it as is, and if somebody wants to be on it.
I agree. I would rather not overcommit ourselves.
Sure. If anybody on the council has interest in those committees and being a regular member, I'm sure we can make that a thing. So just let me know, let the town manager, and we'll go from there. Thank you. Next, we have an update from the Infrastructure Committee, Councilor Hare.
the Infrastructure Committee met, we elected the chair, I'm the chair of the Infrastructure Committee. Tonight we had an agenda item about the skate park, essentially trying to nail down a permanent location so they can move forward with grant applications. Most applications require sort of a commitment for location. Councilor Rankin's going to find a little bit more information from RSU 25 and talk with Superintendent Trick. And our goal is to have it on the February 13th agenda for council discussion. And meeting was adjourned.
Thank you. Any questions? And what is on the agenda later, but Councilor Rankin, a Services Committee update.
We just suggest appointment of Emily Fitzgerald for the Conservation Commission.
Thank you. And I'm not gonna say it the way it's written, even though I want to. Next item is an update on the dams.
I'll try to phrase that differently.
Oh, no, it's fun every time I read it. Yep.
Okay. The towns of Blue Hill, Penobscot, Orland, and Surrey have scheduled meetings, informational meetings for residents in regard to a proposed bill that would allow those four communities to form a quasi-municipal organization for the ownership of the Toddy and Alamoosic dams. Bucksport is not part of those discussions. The town of Bucksport has only Silver Lake within its boundaries, and so solutions related to that will be different than it is for the others. The Bucksport is still a very strong partner in the five-town dam committee and will continue to be so. We had a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday, which is not happening because at this point, we have no information from Bucksport Mill LLC in regard to a request for information or a discussion of any timing for any meetings that we have received nothing on that. Until we can, we won't be doing that. But week after next, the main monitor on Tuesday the 4th is having a meeting at the Alamo at 5:30. They are on the future of dams in Maine, but with particular focus on Silver, Toddy, and Alamoosic dams. I was asked to participate in that. Gina Bouchon from the town of Orland will be participating in representing the other four communities. And there was also a person that is, it's in my manager's report, but I'm jumping ahead a bit. That James Wood, hydrologist and water resources engineer for Streamworks LLC and lead author of the dams chapter of the 2024 report card on Maine's infrastructure by the American Society of Civil Engineers. The Maine Monitor has done a really good job thus far in reporting on the dam situation, has done a lot of research, so they're hosting this this session. It's open to the public. You can go to the Maine Monitor site and register to attend if you want to. But beyond that, I don't have more information because we're waiting for a notification, and the longer we wait, the higher the likelihood is that we will be in short order requesting a 180-day extension from the department in this process, because that clock is also ticking for after the first 60 days, the next 180 days.
Do we have an update or any, it's probably too early to know for sure. I think I asked this at the last meeting too, whether any of the placeholder bills that
They're still being processed.
still being processed.
On my update this week, I did meet with DEP Commissioner Melanie Loisum, and she was very receptive to the information that I presented her with. As you can imagine, anyone with that kind of job is overseeing a lot of things with a lot of avenues of the state, and a lot of the things that we have encountered here on our level that we have been disenfranchised with. I had really good conversation with her about moving forward on how to overcome some of those things, as well as presenting her with specific questions and answers that were lacking during our public hearing that we are all waiting for some sort of content on from multiple angles. And some of those things she specifically was aware of, some she wasn't. But she and I had a really good conversation, and we've got some good communication moving forward that I think is gonna help us.
Thank you. Any other questions? Landfill update.
Well, there's what I consider very sad news here, is that the project manager for Bucksport Mill LLC's landfill, Karen Canuti, who's been with the department for many, many years, I've known Karen for decades, is retiring January 31st, and won't be here to shepherd the closure plan forward. She's provided me the name of her replacement, assured me that this person is smart and tenacious and will follow the plan through. But as I said, I'm sad to see her go. She's been an excellent DEP employee for all the time I've known her, and been very tenacious in trying to get people to do what they're supposed to, within the constraints that she has to operate in her position with the department. It was mentioned at the last meeting that Bucksport Mill LLC submitted an incomplete application. I talked to Karen about that. This is a major application for closure. In any major application that the department sees, there is a back and forth of information requests. It's never that when any of these projects are submitted, they're never submitted and nobody ever asks another question. That isn't how they work. And I confirmed that with Karen, but I knew that on my own from the 16 years that I've spent processing these applications at the board level. Just to assure the community that DEP isn't ignoring the fact that more information is needed, and the fact they're asking for more I see as a positive thing and not a negative thing. We really want this to be done right the first time. And the other thing in talking to Karen is that she indicated that Haley Ward, although they had the engineer that had done the original plan was no longer with the company, that they had assigned another one and were, she indicated, working hard to get the information that had been requested done. And Haley Ward's had some pretty significant personal losses lately that have slowed down some aspects of the company, and that contributed to some of this. But that her belief is that Bucksport Mill LLC and its engineer are working on this closure, and that it will move forward. So that was my discussion with her from yesterday. I don't know the person personally who has replaced her. She's fairly new to the department, but we'll be setting up meetings and making sure that we are able to stay in the same loop that we've been able to stay in with her as we've worked through this to this point.
Thank you. Questions?
I'd just like to make a comment that going back to our previous meeting, I don't know that a lot of people realize in here, but our town manager is the chairman of the Board of Environmental Protection. And as you heard in her conversation just now, we're losing the project manager, but she's on top of it. And anyway, we're lucky to have the town manager as the point person for our discussion. So thank you for keeping us up to date. Appreciate it.
Agreed. Thank you, Councilor Rebs. Anything else? All right. Last item under discussion items is library request.
So I stand here telling you that in the first 23 days of this year, we have signed up 23 more people for the library. And as you can see from my annual statistics, we've been a little busy. I submitted a request to Sue. I'm assuming you've seen it. We are fully aware of what all of our towns are currently facing, especially with the dam issue. But as I said to Sue, I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place. I am getting I'm getting questions at year 4 that we are still very low funded for the size population. And I can only grant write so much. And as you all know, each time you add somebody to a program, that's more money being spent. It's more money being spent on books, it's more money being spent for story time, etc. We have become such a vital resource in this town in a very few years. I mean, we have story hours that just keep getting bigger and bigger. I'm starting a bilingual story hour next week. I am not bilingual, but I have bilingual families who expressed the desire to have a place where they could host a story hour. We have the space. We're very happy to do it. I had some grant money so I could purchase more bilingual storybooks. Our digital content continues to grow. And I will say, you all got the same letter. Verona got a letter, Portland got a letter. And in addition to that, because Prospect and Stockton Springs have also been using our library quite a bit, they got letters. I am not expecting huge sums of money this year, knowing full well what everybody's facing, but our goal is to reach a point that we are at least a little bit below the average in municipal funding for the state. We're the 7th lowest for the size population. And it's hard for me to justify that with the numbers of people that are using the library. Our circulation stats, I'm the envy of some of my bigger libraries, you know, on MDI, because people are really using that library. And with what I suspect are going to be very rocky economic years, I think that's going to go up even more. I mean, the fact that we are providing these free programs, that we're trying to be responsive. I'm doing a lot more work with the RSU. All of that is in support of this community and our other communities. So I hope I hope that we can, you know, continue to get significant funding to keep us going. I mean, we are remote workers. I have one in the room right now. That's continuing to go up. I have homeschoolers who are using our facilities more all the time. Yeah, it's big. I mean, it's been exciting and it's been great, but it's also, as you all know, when you have to look at the budget every week, it's like, where is that money coming from? So we were very fortunate this year that we did get some significant grants, but that is, again, becoming more difficult because there is so much need for all nonprofits. And it's very hard for me to write a grant to keep the doors open. Grants for bright, shiny objects, cool things, but, you know, grants to sustain us and, you know, buy the books and do the programs, not so much. So, yeah. Questions?
On the sheet that you presented us with, are these other communities similarly structured libraries, or are they town-owned libraries?
So, if you're talking about the big spreadsheet,
Yep.
there is a column in that spreadsheet that will indicate whether it's municipal or whether it's nonprofit. There is a mix of both.
Okay.
And more and more libraries are kind of a half-half. Belfast is a perfect example. Belfast, almost 100% of their operating budget, including their staff and everything else, is paid for by the city of Belfast. Their collections and their programs is what comes out of their endowment. Currently, my position does not have medical benefits. Luckily, I have them. When I retire, that's something that's going to absolutely have to be offered. And, you know, we've been fortunate. I've been able to hire a part-time person for 20 hours a week, but literally it's me, a part-time person, and a lot of volunteers that keep that place going. And yeah, it's a lot. And I meet with the Hancock County directors about every 6 weeks. That is what allowed us to get Libby. We've all put money in together to get this fabulous new thing. And many of them are from far richer communities than we are. But to a T, coming out of the state, coming out of the national conferences that I've attended, libraries are just like the best deal in town. I mean, we provide so much and everything's free other than our printing. You know, every program, our books are free. And as we all know, books are now $25 to $30 a piece. And so for a family coming in to use our library, If they're borrowing the max, which is 10, that's $300 that they're saving. And if they're doing that every week, that's a significant savings. Yes,
I assume you're Lisa?
I am.
Thank you. Again, you're written up in the newspaper today. And
Oh, I was. I haven't seen that yet. Can't
you
wait.
did. It's there. You'll figure out in a minute I'm a reader, so, one note that was made in there was can you share with us what the current value of the endowment is at this time?
The current value is roughly about 2 million. We take the interest from the endowment. We try very hard not to go into the principal of the endowment for obvious reasons. We've had to tap into it when I had the mold issue.
Do you have an investment policy statement with your board? I'm just curious what percentage you get from your interest every year from the endowment.
Who does your investment, I guess is the question.
RBC.
Yeah.
RBC is our investment.
Yeah, I was just curious because some organizations draw like 4%, some draw. I was just curious what you
We are currently drawing a little bit under, and we are meeting with him this next month for that conversation. Because frankly, if he confirms to the board that we can draw a little bit more without it affecting our bottom line, then yes, I think that's something that's on the table.
Okay. Well, as you know, we're going to be going into our budgets pretty soon, and I sit here with the goal of a cash neutral this year. We'll see what we can do and so forth. But thank you for sharing that. And I do have just one burr under the saddle tonight to share with you, and I promised I would do this for a Bucksport taxpayer. And it has to do with, I'm not saying you did it, I don't know who in the library did it, but there was an issue came up about bringing in a service dog. And there was a requirement made that they wanted to see papers, whoever this was.
That is our policy. That is
Okay.
our policy.
Well, state of Maine service dog regulations, from what
I recognize that, and what I expressed to her at the time, and I am the one who completely owns this.
Yeah.
She called me, she said she wanted to bring in a service dog. I asked her if the dog was certified, and there was hesitation. This was all on the phone.
Okay,
She wanted to bring the service dog in to a program that involved children and adults and seniors. Now, we have had instances of people bringing their dogs into our library and scaring children and had aggressive animals right outside of our doors. And so I made it clear to her that I would just need to see the paperwork. And at the time when I spoke to her and she said, okay, fine, I thought it was all one and done. And then I started hearing the rumors and I started hearing all the stuff. And she did come in and she did show me the piece of paper. And I said, that's fine, thank you very much. That's all I needed to see. And I thought it was one and done.
Well-
But I have to look always at the bigger picture. And the same way that I am, and they don't like me, but I am a Rottweiler with the little kids who are running in the library when I've got senior citizens on canes. No, that can't happen.
I understand, and I've researched under the Maine Human Rights Commission and done my research too, and under the MHRA Act, and they call it public accommodation. Use of service animals by individuals with disabilities. While there are some exceptions, the general rule is an inclusion requiring the PA allow the service animal to be present. The PA may ask only 2 questions to determine if a dog is a service animal. Is the animal required because of a disability? what work or task has the animal been trained to perform? These are the only two permissible inquiries. It's not whether it's a municipal library or a public, or.
All right, I stand corrected. Thank you for
Well, just-
sharing that. I can honestly say that I have seen people with their
And
service animals.
It goes on to say, however, that you can remedy the what if there's a problem with the service animal? It's all in here,
Okay,
okay?
Thank
But
you.
just for, anyway, it was brought to my attention and basically, is the dog a service animal? What work or task has the dog been trained to do? American Disability Act, state and local government, local businesses. Anyway, thank you for listening.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for enlightening me.
So, I felt a little awkward that came up during sort of a request for general operating support, so I'm just
That's
gonna go
all- yeah,
back to
that's all
sort of
right,
the general
yes.
operating support
Right.
request, and I would hope that any of us who sort of receive complaints, that we have some discretion in how we address those complaints with directors of nonprofits in our community. That being said, I think, this is really helpful information. You're absolutely right. We are on the heels on probably mill closure era money left in the bank. So I think it's gonna be helpful for us in the budget process.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you.
I agree. I don't wanna include it in the budget, I'm saying budget process. Look at it through the budget
Exactly.
lens, yeah.
Right, and as I stated, one of the reasons that we chose to give you the whole picture and give you the scenario of multiple years was to give each municipality the discretion to say, okay, this year we can only do this, but hopefully next year we can do this. So that we can get to a point that we are at a more reasonable funding level. It's becoming increasingly difficult for me when I have people at the state saying, well, you're just not advocating enough. It's like, I'm meeting with you guys 4 times a year and I'm meeting with other town councilors, so I think, and I've explained to the state what we're currently facing, so it's not like they don't know that, but and as I said, it's more a bottom line for me of just how do I continue to provide the level of service that we are providing with increasing numbers and the budget that we currently have. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
This past year, I'll remind you moved the library from the outside agency funding to the recreation department. So the discussion of the library will be as part of the overall recreation funding.
Oh, that's right, it's missing, yeah.
Any other question? Thank you. Agenda items. The first is Resolve 2025-36 to approve sewer commitment for October the 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024 in the amount of $216,004.04.
Motion to approve. Second.
Has been moved and seconded. Any questions? Those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Resolve 2025-37 to set the rate of interest for delinquent sewer bills for 2025. That is included in your packet.
Motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. And Resolve 2025-38 to set the budget workshop schedule for the 2025-2026 budget. That also is included in your packet. I don't know if you want to speak to that at all, not to put you on the spot.
It's the same schedule accommodating the new date, but it follows the same format that we used last year, and it starts on the second. Councillor Tarian has meetings the first Thursday of the month, and I missed the first one. The only one that's impacted is, I think actually I missed both of them, because the 1st of May is a Thursday, and that, it skips that one, so she was the only one that I was aware of that had a direct conflict to date, but I believe that this addresses. Plug them all in.
Everybody good? Council.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Under resignations, appointments, assignments, and elections, we have one, and as we mentioned earlier, it is to appoint Emily Fitzgerald to the Conservation Committee. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Emily. Approval of quick claims, discharges, and deeds. The first is Lisa Chipman, map 040, lot 017, tax lien discharge from June the 28th, 2023. Would the council like to proceed?
Motion.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Also for the heirs of Ray Jean Craig, map, it's lot 042, tax lien discharge of 6/28/2023 as well.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor? Thank you.
Although I sent you all these things, I don't have the copies for you to sign, so if you could stop by some.
Yep.
Can you,
I'll go print them out.
thank you,
Oh, perfect.
What rocks?
thank,
There we go.
my apologies.
That is all right. Town manager report.
We already talked about the main monitor at Alamo. A reminder that the goals and objectives meeting for the council will be held on Wednesday, February 5th at 6 p.m. in the town council chambers. The public is welcome to attend. I would encourage all councilors to give some thought to this ahead of time. The most recent annual report that I provided to you in December itemized last year's goals and where we stood on each of them, as well as on the other projects that we currently have in the works. The new system has been installed at the town garage for gas and diesel to replace the system monitored by the company that went out of business unexpectedly. There have been a few glitches in the process, but thank you to Jim Morrill for shepherding the process, identifying the glitches and working to get them resolved. I have requested a meeting with Bucksport Bay Healthy Communities Coalition and Habitat for Humanity to discuss the pilot project for safety and accessibility home repairs and asked Councillor Hare, who was the council representative on the BBHCC, to attend as well. I think it is important to understand how the program is working and to make sure everyone is on the same page. So I'll keep you filled in on how that goes. Foreclosure notices for unpaid 2022-23 property taxes went out in December of '24. On January 7th, I sent letters to 15 property owners who were in foreclosure but who had not made any reasonable effort to address the delinquency. So far, 3 have responded and made arrangements to redeem their property. I will be bringing a list of those who do not respond to the letters at your meeting on February 13th. I will also be reviewing sewer foreclosures for a similar process. And the last day to license your dog and avoid a state-imposed $25 extra fee in this office is January 30th. But you can license your dog online and avoid this fee through January 31st. And finally, as I knew he would, Jacob has hit the ground running and is working with George on training, has met with department heads and other staff members to discuss budgets and projects and the current workloads, is reviewing material in anticipation of budget submittals, which we will receive in February, and working on further organizing the clerk function. I've received numerous calls from people commending the council for having a management succession plan.
Thank you. Next, set public hearings and hold public hearings and approval of any licenses or permits, and we do not have any of those this evening. Next is discussion of items not on the agenda for the council and public. We will start with the public this evening. Mr. White.
Good evening. Just a couple of things to add to the landfill discussion that Susan gave earlier, and not to beat a dead horse, but the original closing date requested by the town through our mayor was June of last year. The commissioner, through Susan Miller, I think then went to November 1st because of possible sales and all of those kinds of things that were discussed. They did submit a closure plan that needed more information after on that date of November 1st. As of now, the plan, according to DEP, today may be in April, according to the conversation I had today. So we continue to have deadlines that move. We continue to have deadlines that move. They're also, their closure plan, they're saying that they will, if closure happens, it will happen in May of 2027, that's what they have said in that original closure plan. So that differs with what the DEP said was January 1st, 2026. So it's just a moving back, and from our perspective, that continues to allow some things to happen that don't need to happen. That 7-acre piece up there that has a tattered tarp on it continues to allow more filtration to go in and go into the river, including PFAS, including other stuff that we don't even know about. So if we feel that it's too bad that this continues to happen, because I think we do have responsibility to the river at this point, and to do the best we can. But they continue to the deadlines continue to move back and back. And who knows what happens with a new project manager, what that happened. They continue to be overloaded there. Haley Ward continues to say we need more time, or we need more people, but I was told today, maybe in April, we'll have a closure plan for you. Again, this continues to move the clock back, and I don't know how that feels to you. It doesn't feel good to me, because it allows continued possible options to pop up, possible sales to pop up, and certainly continued pollutive situations to go on. That leachate pond ain't working good up there. That has to be something has to be done by that DEP. Said that to me today, but who knows what it is. So anyway, just to keep pushing a little bit, and I'm sorry for continued doing that, but we're interested in moving this along, and hopefully that there will be a deadline that means something at some point. Thank you.
I've got a little confused in the date process at the beginning. Is it still December 31st, 26?
That is what DEP said. The application asked for a different date, but DEP has not granted that request.
Okay, yeah. A lot of dates done, I just wanted a little
There's been
clarification.
a lot of dates that have moved around. It was part of my point. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
During my meeting the other day with the commissioner, this topic did come up, and I did bring up how displeased we were with the moving of the dates, and that we did intend to hold firm on our current closure date of the end of 2026, and that was heard and understood.
So I guess I need to ask the question, because I'm gonna ask it. Has the date actually moved?
No.
Okay, thank you. I kinda wanna nip this conversation in the bud. The date hasn't moved, and I don't know what the DEP said to you today, Dawn, but I do have to go based on what the town manager has said. And in her conversations with the DEP, that there is a closure date, that date has not moved. I can't speak to where you got that information, but I'm not gonna sit here and let that date, that continue to be put out into the public, that there is a moving date here when there in fact isn't.
May I respond?
Yes, please.
My date of 2027 is what AIM is saying in their closure plan, the original closure plan. That's the date that they say that they will close on.
However, the Department of Environmental
I got
Protection.
it. I got it.
Okay, so, but I wanna be clear here. It is a little disingenuous to state that there is a moving date. When the date, they have requested a date and the Department of Environmental Protection has not granted that request. Am I incorrect?
Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding and perhaps I have misstated it.
Okay.
What I mean by deadlines changing is deadlines for closure plans, deadlines that have been moving. Your request of June for a closure plan, we now move to maybe April, so that to me is a change of that particular time. That's all I meant. I didn't mean that the closure plan from DEP or anybody else was from 26, it changed.
Okay.
AIM has stated that they'll close in May of 2027.
So
That is what I meant.
But I also think then we can agree that the phrase moving date is slightly inaccurate. They requested a date and the Department of Environmental Protection didn't grant it. No date has moved. When has the date moved?
No date has moved for closure, for permanent closure, if that is what is to occur, and we all hope that it is.
Okay.
But by giving them more time to continue to work on this, allows options to remain open, in my opinion, that the part, and there has been some things that have changed, such as they were supposed to be cited for a incomplete covering of refuge that was up there. There was a September 1 deadline for that. They did not do it. They were supposed to be cited. They were not cited.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that what is being said and what is happening sometimes from perspective of where I'm sitting does change.
Yeah, but I think, Don, it's time for you to understand the perspective from where this council is sitting. And from where this council is sitting, and I feel that I can voice that perspective, it's this. There is a closure date that's been established by the Department of Environmental Protection. And quite frankly, I don't give a damn what AIM has requested. It has not been granted. I also understand that there are some other things that have been requested too, and some other things that perhaps they should have been cited on, and I'm not gonna argue with you on that. What I am gonna argue, however, is that this phrase moving date is inappropriate. There has been no date, I understand that from the initial request that I sent to the DEP, that the date has changed. However, since that time, there has been a process where a date has been agreed upon. That date has not moved, and I need to be clear about that, because I keep getting asked questions about that. And I'm forced to say, quite frankly, that people are stating it inaccurately. And I kind of want to stop doing that.
I apologize if I did. I don't think I did say that the date of closure expected by DEP had changed. What my statement to the council is that AIM has said their closure date is May of 2027. It was not agreed upon by anybody. That's what their statement is. I don't think I ever said that the date of closure
Well, then
has
if I
ever changed.
misquoted you, then you have my apology, but
Well,
the phrase
again,
moving date.
if I did say that, you have my apologies, but I don't believe that happened.
I'm not, you just have to understand, and
Well,
I'm not coming at you, well, I guess probably I kind of am.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the moving date piece is problematic, because
Right.
what it conveys is, and the town manager, I think, has been crystal clear on this, and I don't want to belabor the point. And I'll go back to what Councilor Rab said this evening. I think her work on this has been exemplary, and I'll stop there, because I could talk for another 15 minutes on that. But there is a date that has been established for the closure of, and until the DEP vacillates from that date, at which point they can probably expect even more of a tone from me than what I'm exhibiting now. That date has not moved.
I agree.
Okay.
Totally agree, and I apologize if citizen input is not, we've got a lot invested in this and have for a long time and have been a part of this. And hopefully we're all on the same page and want the same thing for what is best for the complete closure of that landfill in its best environmental possibilities.
Okay.
That's our point.
Yep.
Thank you.
I totally agree. Thank you. Anyone else from the public this evening? Mr. Mott.
Small. I'm Tom Mott, Bucksport. Open to the council, but Councilman Bishop probably knows best on this. The possibility exists in my mind, and I'm ill-informed, that a request of 180 days extension is a possibility. What's the possibility of the fact that that won't happen?
I have no idea. I'm not gonna answer that. This process has not been fulfilled, and as part of my conversation with DEP right now, when we met this week, is that the moves and the process that is going through is being analyzed very strategically, because this could set precedent in other fields.
I
So
understand.
as it goes through the process, we will be the first to know.
Okay.
Sue, you got anything else on that?
No, that, the 180-day extension, the request would be through no fault of our own. We made the requests, of the dam owner for information. We have held our meetings within the required time frame. We have done the outreach for that, so, waiting for a response and not having information that we don't have sufficient time to analyze. The DEP is not gonna refuse us an 180-day extension if we were dragging our feet, hadn't held a meeting, didn't do what we were supposed to, we would be more susceptible to that, but not based on the fact that we don't have anything to analyze and we have no meetings with anyone to discuss anything scheduled, which we can't schedule.
Yeah.
We have to wait for them to do that.
I thank you. Part of this was, I watched this in an earlier life endgame situation go on between municipalities and a similar entity to Bucksport LLC or the holding for the dams. And I think the way that original, this is me being highly uninformed, legislation in 1991, it could be argued for centuries just what the letter of the law is on extending that. So I just wanted to get an idea whether we were gonna get tripped up. Sounds like not. Thank you.
1991, 34 years.
Anyone else? Anyone else from the council? Very good. Upcoming public hearings, designation of topics for committee assignment and scheduling of committee meetings. What do we need do we have our goal session?
That's it.
Okay, nothing prior to our meeting on the 13th?
Unless
No.
Councilor Rankin brings anything back, but
That'll be on the
it'll be
13th.
on the council.
Right, that's on the 5th. I mean, prior to our meeting on the 13th, do we need any other committee meetings? Okay. I do want to put something on the council's radar. You will remember Councilor Hare had mentioned that on the 28th of February, she would be absent. I am also going to be absent and there's no way I can avoid it, on the 28th of February as well.
27th?
Yes, excuse me, 27th. Yep.
I'm having surgery that day.
Yep, I had the 28th because I have to go to India for work and I will be back on the 28th.
That's a really diverse
Imagine.
set of reasons.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
Surgery India.
Yeah.
it's really true, don't print that.
So I highlight that, I've already let the deputy mayor know, but if anybody else is going to be absent from a meeting, from that particular meeting, excuse me, that we may want to consider rescheduling, so if anything comes up on your radar, if you'd let me know as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, if we lose one more, then we're down to everything on the agenda and has to be a unanimous vote, et cetera, in order for anything to happen.
And that's not a good position to put somebody in who might want to vote against something, because then it doesn't pass. And they, it's not the best way to do business, so. Please let me know if it looks like that might be an issue. So if there's nothing else, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I drink your water?
Yeah, please do.
Almost there, glass.